Wilson?
Yeah. The people in my high school I've grown up with since kindergarten, basically. I first met Owen in 7th grade.
They were just like a high school couple in a movie.
We were like best friends.
But the more friends you have, the easier it is to be betrayed by them. Something dangerous could happen.
A high school girl in Michigan was cyberbullied for more than a year.
And who turned out to be the suspect shocked everyone.
All right, there we go. Unknown number, the high school catfish.
We're doing something current today.
We are. We're taking a departure from our regularly scheduled
Gen X,
1980s, 1990s, 2000 movies. And Kathy stumbled across this documentary that we think is a lot of people are gonna be talking about it if they haven't already.
I think that they already are. And again, it just depends on if you're on social media, TikTok, if your kids are talking about it, if you watched it yourself. You know, not everyone's a documentary person. But I think it has a lot to discuss in terms of parenting. And I think it has a lot to discuss in terms of cell phones and emotional maturity. And also just an FYI for everybody. There is a big reveal at the end of this documentary. And for the first beginning of this podcast, as we're kind of going through it, we're not going to say that reveal. And then at some point, I don't know, 15 minutes in, 30 minutes in, we're going to say, okay, from here on out, if you haven't watched it
and you want to,
then stop listening or go watch it and come back. Or if you've already watched it, keep going.
We don't want to compromise your viewing experience, but so we're going to give you a heads up. But it is, I watched it, was it last night or 2 nights ago?
2 nights ago.
2 nights ago. And, but first, Sweetie wrote a book called Restoring Our Girls, How Real Conversations Shape Our Daughters' Lives, help them with the teen challenges and remind them that they matter, in bookstores right now and Amazon.
If this documentary is interesting to you, the book will be interesting too, because I talk about these things.
Kathy and I also do Team Zen. We just recorded a Zen Parenting Live podcast for Team Zen.
Parenting Live. You should play the music.
Zen music, this one?
Zen parenting music. Yeah.
Kicking it back old school, just doing a live podcast for just our Team Zen people. And Kathy does a women's circle. And I feel like there's one other thing we offer. What's
if you are on Team Zen, you get my Substack for free. I have a paid version and it's like $50 a year, but you get it for free.
So why did you want to bring this to Zen Pop Parenting?
Well, first of all, what is Zen Pop Parenting? Where Gen X culture meets real life reflection, right? So this is going to it's not necessarily about a Gen X movie or Gen X music, but I think it has a lot to do with Gen X parenting. Yeah. So I watched this kind of on a whim, over the weekend. I was on social media and I saw that I was noticing on TikTok that a lot of people were saying, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, can't believe this, can't believe this. So, that sucks me in pretty quick. I watch a lot of documentaries. A lot of them I stop watching after 20 minutes because it's not any good. This one is good. You'll get into it really quick. I think it is. It's well done. It's tight. You know what I mean? It moves fast. And I think it's only like an hour and 30 minutes.
Hour and a half.
Hour and a half. So
can I give you the story at a glance?
Sure, go ahead.
And then we're going to set the scene after that.
Sure.
It's a story about a teenage couple named Lauren and Owen, and they're from Beale City, Michigan.
Correct.
Tiny little town in Michigan, 300 people, 400 people.
Yeah.
Something like that. And Lauren and Owen start receiving 50 harassing texts per day. And it escalates into some really crazy, explicit, mean, sexual, what other adjectives can I use to describe the awful nature of these texts?
Kind of unfathomable. It doesn't really make sense. There's not a lot of rhyme or reason. And this also goes on for 22 months.
Yes. And so eventually they call the cops in and eventually they call the FBI in. Mm-hmm. So that is the story at a glance. Is that a good summary?
That's a good summary. And I'll also say, well, actually, go ahead with set the scene and then I'll start that process.
All right, go ahead and set the scene, sweetie.
Okay, so first of all, as Todd said, this is called Unknown Number, the High School Catfish. I kind of don't like the title. I got to be honest with you. I think it doesn't describe it very well.
And it discriminates against catfish.
Well, That too, but that's not really what bothers me the
No.
most. If I would have seen this on Netflix and no one told me to watch it, I'd be like,
Whatever.
you know what I mean? Whatever. But that's what it's called. It's only on Netflix. That's where you find it. And it was directed by Skye Borgman, who has done Girl in the Picture, Abducted in Plain Sight. She's a very well thought of documentarian. So I understood that too. She also did if you're watching The Biggest Loser documentary that is also on Netflix, she did that as well. So just a woman who's a really, really, really good documentarian. And so this story happened. It's a true story, of course, thus the documentary, version, but it was 2020 when things began. So it was like during COVID. And just to kind of, like Todd said, it's really about that these text messages started
And
coming.
how old are the kids?
They were, I think, 14 or 15 when they started. Okay. So
Yeah,
because
14, I think.
they were a couple, I mean, they were a young couple. They were like freshmen in high school. And so then they started to get these texts, like Todd said, they were very inappropriate. They were not only were they somewhat threatening, but they were sexual and they were, not okay. And they were coming fast and furious. And they kind of started and then stopped for a little bit and then came back. So it's kind of murky about how things really went down because they only had an hour and a half to tell us, but it wasn't good. And it ended, everything kind of came to an end last year, 2024. So it's very recent. So this kind of places us as listeners in like the height of the smartphone world, right? Like we are, as parents, we have been dealing with what to do as far as our kids being, so influenced by technology and having the access to the entire world on the phone and the entire world having access to our kids on the phone. It's one thing for our kids to reach out and to, look at porn or to, be on video games all day or whatever it may be that we're concerned about. But what's also concerning is who is reaching our kids.
Well, and the premise of this entire documentary is who is the one, and I think this kind of goes without saying, but who is the perpetrator?
Right.
And they show you all the potential possibilities.
The people who had originally been thought to be the person.
And it's really interesting. And as a viewer, you're like, oh, maybe it's this kid, or maybe it's this person, or maybe it's this person. And then they end up revealing, which we'll talk about in a little bit. And it's really satisfying, I guess, to see the reveal.
I would say a lot of documentaries, at least a lot of the ones I've watched in the last couple of years, they kind of leave you and they're like, we never figured it out.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh boy,
Yeah,
like,
just
wow.
hour and a half and no resolution.
Yeah. And they're like, yep. And didn't go any further than this, or this is still ongoing. And you're like, wow, this feels too heavy. And this does have, I wouldn't say that it's over in the biggest sense of the word, but we do know what happened.
Yeah.
It's kind of an ongoing.
Yeah, it's satisfying.
It's satisfying in that way. But, what's interesting about this as far as setting the scene and thinking about Gen X is you and I grew up with the whole stranger danger thing. I mean, let me step back even further as a Gen Xer. We actually didn't grow up with it. We grew up with being able to be outside by ourselves, had no phones. Parents would say, come home when the street lights go on. Like we grew up in a time when kids were not checking in.
Yeah.
Okay. Which is interesting because if you look at the stats of things like children being harmed, sexually assaulted, molested, kidnapped, those stats were much higher in the 70s and 80s. If you look at the statistics now, they're much, much lower. But we still have this stranger danger mentality that people are going to steal our kids.
I pulled up a quick piece on the evolution of anonymous communication, which the whole premise of this documentary is. Are you ready for it?
Yeah, go ahead.
1950s to the 80s.
Okay.
Prank calls. Remember the good old days, sweetie?
Sweetie, I got a question. Is your refrigerator running?
Yeah.
Then you better go catch it. That was a good one. What else did we do? We would prank and do what else?
Call bowling alleys and ask them if they have 10-pound balls. And then you say something like, how do you get around or something like that. There's a lot
How
of
do you get
creativity.
around?
Yeah.
It's a lot of or there was one about a toilet too, but that's what we did. It was a little like ding door.
Calling a grocery store, asking if they have Prince Albert in a can. I think Prince Albert was some type of food.
And then we'd say, well, let them out.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, we had a lot of things.
We were just
We were
crazy.
so funny.
Oh my God.
And I think if anybody in our generation was honest, all of us, prank called someone at some point.
Yeah, it's what you did on sleepovers.
Actually, there was a kid that I went to school with, but he also went to my church, and he was making prank calls from my church. And so they did trace it back. Remember tracers?
Yes.
You know, like you'd call the police and you'd keep them on the phone long enough and then they'd trace it back. And he was doing it out of our church.
That's awesome. I'm gonna go ahead, and I know I'm not done talking about anonymous communication, but I do feel the need just to come to remember when. You okay with that?
Okay. So we're going to go back and forth.
I don't know if this counts, but we used to ding dong ditch.
You know what? I didn't get my full sentence out, but I said it was just like ding dong ditching.
And I remember one time, my friend Peter got caught and peed in his pants when he got caught by the guy.
Dude.
If I got ding dong ditched, I'd be like, good for you guys.
Well, let me tell you 2 stories.
Okay.
Number one, and this is all from social media, but 2 true stories. I'm going to tell you the sad one first.
Oh, boy.
A kid was shot
Oh,
about 2
Jesus.
weeks ago,
Oh,
dog ditching.
Jesus.
Okay. So stand your ground, right? All that kind of crap. So I'm just going to tell you that happened. But the second story, and this was on social media, and it was the cutest thing. This kid came up to a door. So everyone's got a Ring camera now, right?
Yeah.
So you can see all this.
Yeah.
It's on video. So this kid comes up to a door and this person opens the door and they're like, hello. And he's like, hello. And she's kind of like waiting. And he goes, oh, I'm sorry. I was going to ding dong ditch you. And he's like, but you opened the door. Like he's apologizing. And then the funniest part was the person at the door is like, does your parent know you're doing this? And he turns around. He's like, Dad, she wants to know if you know I'm doing this. And he's like, run, run. So his dad had taken him to ding dong ditch.
Oh, dear.
Now, I am going to make an assumption that his dad's a Gen Xer
Yeah.
and is like, you got to do fun things like I did
Yes.
when I was a kid. But what I love is that the kid like owned up to it and didn't run.
I might have it. Tell
Oh my
me
God.
if this is it.
Okay, I will. Yeah, I think this is it.
Can I help you?
No.
What are you doing here?
I'm really sorry. I'm going to ding dong ditch you guys. I'm super sorry.
Does your dad know you're out here doing this? I will call him right now.
Yeah, he does know.
I doubt that. What the Dad?
Yeah.
He goes ding dong ditching with you?
Yeah, he says it's a core childhood memory and he wants to be a part of it.
Oh my God. If that's a real video and it's not planned, that is hilarious.
I know we are so, as parents, again, this is so Gen X and millennials do it too, boomers did it too, but we so want our children to have our childhood.
Truth.
Like we just can't tolerate if our children don't have what we had because we then can like relive it through them. You know, I can't believe you found that. That's so great.
That is good.
So anyway, are we going back to set the scene?
We are going back to set the scene, but can I finish up my
Yes, please go ahead.
anonymous communication?
Yeah.
So in the 1990s, sweetie, we got caller ID and star 69.
Thank God.
Caller ID, we know what that is, a little white box.
I had it on my nightstand.
Because before then, if anybody's if there's any millennials or younger, the
didn't
phone
know.
rang and we didn't know.
You just had to answer
we didn't
it.
know who was calling.
Yeah. You'd say hello.
And then star 69, what did that do?
You could find out who just called and hung up.
Instantly called them back.
So if someone pranked you, you would just star 69.
And I also remember trying to do a party call, a 3-way line with my 2 friends and have them just like catch each other and like have an awkward conversation. And it never really worked as well as I wanted it to.
Well, and that was your version. A lot of times girls would do the party line, but then they wouldn't say that the other girls were on the phone.
Oh,
listening to their phone.
That's nefarious.
It was
That's what Kanye did to T Swizzle.
He sure did. And that they do that in Mean Girls. There's a really good like 4, boxes of like they're on the phone and she's like, "Oh, I'm here." And So, and again, maybe boys did that too. I don't want to gender it, but there definitely were things like that.
So the next things, which are a little more boring, chat rooms and early internet handles in the 90s and the 2000s,
Yeah.
whatever. Text messaging and burner phones
Yep.
in the 2000s.
Yep.
And then we get social media and DMs. And you can do those things anonymously, as you found out in this documentary.
You sure can.
And then in the 2010s and 20s, catfishing and fake profiles. Good old Monte Teo.
Yeah.
Did you see that
Monteo.
documentary?
Yeah. He was a football player. He was catfished. by this guy, but the guy was pretending to be this girl,
Yeah.
this really beautiful girl. And so Monteo, is that how you say his name?
Monty,
Monty.
Mantiteo.
He thought that he had a girlfriend
Yeah.
and he was telling everyone he had a girlfriend, and turns out it was not.
And then last thing, deep fakes and AI voice cloning. And I'm just thinking like fake porn too. Like it's just awful.
Yeah, and it's almost too much to like deal with. Like we're going to try and stay within the world of this documentary, because I get like super uncomfortable thinking about where AI is going. So I don't really want to go there. But what I will say is that for us as parents, we shifted from the, early stranger danger stuff in the 90s, 80s and 90s to tech danger. In this, in the 2000s. So our kids there is a danger of having technology. And, smart. Todd, can you tell me when the iPhone came out? What year it was?
The iPhone, I'll
The first
say
iPhone launched in
2005.
7.
Oh, it's pretty good.
And it's good. I can remember this now because it was when Skylar was born.
Yeah.
Okay. So by the early 2010s, teens started carrying them around everywhere. So I remember JC was in 5th grade when she asked for a phone because her girlfriend had an iPhone. And we were like, no, she didn't get one for a while. But I remember that was the first time that she was like, can I have that too?
Yeah. And
we were like, how are we going to deal with this thing? Do you remember the first time you texted?
No. I just remember on my Nokia 6160, you had to press the 2 button 3 times to get to the C character.
Right, I know.
It was a very long
process,
messy, inefficient process. That's why Blackberries are so good, because they had a little keyboard on them.
So BlackBerry and MySpace and flip phones used to be kind of the thing, and then now we have touchscreens and apps and 24/7 expectation that we're always on. Social media, Facebook came out in
Facebook, I'll say same year as the iPhone, 2007.
Close, 2006. Instagram came in 2010, Snapchat in 2011. And, parents were just, we were kind of in that world. Our kids were little. We were just starting to realize that screen time was starting to mean different things. Like I remember like screen time when our kids were really little was just watching TV. Right. And then it became like, oh, the schools are using screens now too.
Yep.
Like they're getting like what are those called? Those flip books? What are they called? Those little computers they get.
They're iPads?
No, it's not an iPad. It's called something else, but we're not coming up with it.
Surface?
No, it's that computer that they all get and we have to buy it.
Laptops.
Yeah, it's a laptop, but there's another word for it. But it doesn't matter because it's irrelevant. It's erroneous. And so it was like a whole new world for parenting. The fear, like I remember the first time that parents started to talk to me about, hey, my kid's playing a video game, they're playing Fortnite or they're playing something else and they're meeting friends on their headsets. And they're like, they have these parasocial relationships with people. And then the parent would figure out that one of the people they were talking to was actually 40 years old.
Yeah.
And so things started to get and I shouldn't say things started to get, this is still happening, but things got really messy. And then the last thing I want to talk about in terms of this documentary is small town dynamics. Now, I grew up in a small town. People may not think it's a small town because Northern Illinois University is there. So it is a university town. I grew up in DeKalb, Illinois, but it felt like a small town to us, meaning we didn't really associate with the university. You kind of knew everybody, you'd pull up to a stoplight, you'd look to the left and the right, you know everybody, you knew who ran the stores. That's just small town dynamics. And in a close community, there is a lot of gossip. There's rumors, people watching each other, talking about each other. Sometimes private conflicts become more public, conversations. And, that plays a big role in this documentary as well, is kind of the small town dynamics.
Well, and I would say if this happened I'm guessing this isn't a wealthy small town. And if it was wealthier, I have a feeling
there'd be more attention.
More resources would have been directed to figuring this out.
Yeah,
Just a guess.
I think that that's probably true. I think that there is, it's probably middle class. I know we have a very disappearing middle class, but people were working. It wasn't like a community that seemed to have lost their,
Yeah.
sometimes a power plant goes away or something, or some kind of plant goes away and then everyone loses their job. It wasn't like that, but it was small enough that you can see that the parents are over invested in their children's lives. They have a lot of information. They know all the other parents. There's a lot of feeling like everything's happening to them. So that's set the scene.
All right. Rowan and sorry, remember when, or did we
Just a little bit of remember when?
Remember when?
do? What are we going to reveal? I feel like I want to reveal and tell them who did it.
Let's wait till, because let's get through a few random facts and
Okay.
then we'll do it. So in real soon, everybody, in the next 5-10 minutes. One thing, I don't know if you can pull this up, but can you pull up like an AOL screech?
Oh yeah.
Do you remember that sound?
I do.
We were just like connecting, like to when you would want to connect to your email or to Wi-Fi or whatever. Like the patience we used to have, like this is totally my remember when, is that we were all in on, okay, let's have these phones and let's have this technology. But man, it took forever. Oh my God.
I remember being excited. I'm like, I'm
Me
about
too.
to get online.
But then sometimes it would go burp, burp, and it would like crap out.
Yeah.
So sometimes you wouldn't get online. Just like a small, remember when?
Got mail.
Oh, there's my mail. There's my
Got
email.
mail.
I'd be so excited. I remember like cool people had 2 emails. They had like their AOL and then they had their work email. And I was like, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Now I have like 8 emails.
Way too many.
Yeah, too many. But I remember, just as far as like technology and it becoming a part of our lives and kind of figuring out what was real. I did an internship at the Illinois Eye Clinic here when I was in grad school. And it was the year that the Blair Witch Project came out. And it was like a perfect time for a movie like that to come out, because there was a website, which I used to think they were saying wet site, and didn't know what a web was, but there was a wet site that was all about the Blair Witch, and they weren't telling us, they weren't giving enough information to know if it was a true story or not a true story, or if these people were real, or if they were actors, or if it was a documentary. And this website kind of created this lore that I would try and connect to. The reason I was talking about being at the eye clinic is because I remember I had this office in the basement and I would try and connect because I wanted to read about the Blair Witch. And then it would it would crap out. It was probably because I was in a basement, and we did go see the movie, and there was still some question whether it was real. Do you remember?
I do.
Now people would know in 2 seconds.
This is Blair Witch sounds. Maybe this is the
What's it called, soundtrack or
yeah,
whatever,
I don't, something like that. I wanted to hear her freaking
talk
out, but
with the
no dice.
phone. What is she talking? Oh, the camera. She's
Yes.
still got a video camera. So let's talk about your Nokia. Do you remember you would play Snake?
Yes, I loved Snake. It was kind of like not Centipede, because Centipede was different, but just don't run into your own tail.
Yeah.
And
like eat more.
eat more
pieces.
pellets, and then your tail will get longer, which make it more difficult not to hit yourself.
When Todd and I when we were first going on dates, I remember when I'd go to the bathroom, I'd come back, you'd always be playing Snake.
Yeah, it's fun.
It's just like an ingrained memory, a core memory,
Yeah.
So my first phone, this is real quick before we go into the, random facts about this documentary. My first job, my boss gave me a bag phone and said, because I had to drive around a lot, and he's like, just keep this in your car. And I put it in my car, and it never once worked.
What's a bag phone? I don't even heard of it.
It was a phone in a bag, and you were supposed to plug it in like to the cigarette lighter when we had cigarette lighters instead of these other little power things we have.
Receptacles?
They're not receptacles.
Yes, they are.
What is that word? It's like a
adapter
where we put this end of the.
It's called a receptacle, babe.
Okay. It's not. Is it really? Or are you making fun of me?
It's think about it. Trash receptacles where you put trash inside the container.
True.
An iPad cord is a receptacle.
Okay. I don't know if I agree, but I'm just going to roll with it because you seem pretty committed to it. And so anyway, I had this bag phone and I remember my friends would be like, well, let's use it. And I'd be like, I don't know how it works. So it kind of wasn't doing what it was supposed to, which was work, you know, or like be helpful. And then I think I had a phone that sucked really bad. And then I feel like we got together and I got my first Razor phone and it was pink.
Oh yeah,
And
that
it
was
was
a big deal.
It was huge. And it was my first phone that actually like worked. And that was the first phone I texted on. My friend Megan Lee is like, just text me. And I'm like, what do you mean? And then I figured out how to do that. So it's like now things are so normal, but they were just not. We just lived such a different way, you and I.
What a great story.
Hey, I'm doing Remember When.
Oh, that was mean. But I happened to find a sound clip. What a great story.
Okay.
That's from Parenthood.
But you should use that always during Remember When.
Yes.
Okay, so do we want to jump into?
Let's reveal. We're 25 minutes in.
Let's tell the story and then reveal
Right,
at
go
the
ahead,
end.
go
So
ahead.
Kim, we're going into like instead of random facts, just facts of this case. Are we ready?
Yeah.
Okay, so play our random facts.
Did you know the human head weighs 8 pounds?
All right.
Okay, so again, setting just like you did, Lauren and her boyfriend Owen, they were often referred to as the town's golden couple.
Yikes.
Starting around, I know they were so young. See what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's too young to be like focused on kids who are dating.
Yeah.
Starting around October 2020, both of them started getting anonymous texts from an unknown number, thus the title of the documentary. This and that they mostly were focused around implying that Owen was cheating on Lauren. Okay. Like he doesn't love you. He loves me. He's cheating on you. He's going to break up with you. That's how it started. All this harassment, it paused for a little bit, but then returned with extreme escalation like months later. Like you said, 40 to 50 threatening messages daily. And the messages not only were like so cruel about Lauren's appearance, but they also told Lauren to kill herself and pressured her in these like emotionally brutal
Think
ways.
of like the worst things you could say to somebody.
Yeah.
And just assume that. I literally, I can look it up, but I don't even want to say these words. They're so horrific.
Well, and it's funny because the people who were investigating it, the principal and the police officer, the sheriff and everybody, they're like, this was a little much for us.
Yeah, right.
Like we would read them and be uncomfortable. So the authorities launched an investigation in 2022. And that took a while. I mean, I'm just going to give like my parent opinion without having all the details. I felt like they were trying to handle it themselves for too long.
Way too, yeah. I mean,
Like-
that's one of my, not even a hot take. It's a regular take. It's like, this should have been solved right away.
Yeah, if not completely solved, like jumped on and not disregarded. Like these kids are getting 50 texts a day. And there were so many ways that we could have like,
Most of my energy was being directed in how to, if this happened to our daughter, how would I handle it? And it wasn't as much like who did it. It's like, this seems stupid. Like there's so many different ways to go about this.
Right.
One is get yourself a different phone number.
Right.
Another is hand out that and use that number just to a certain amount of people, because like some of it's like kill yourself. Like some of them is like awful things. So it's worth not having access to your friends for a bit to text and call and do all the things. But
I think what the parents would say, because they did suggest this at certain points, and they're like, this person who's sending the text seems to have a lot of information about what's going on during the school day. Like, oh, I saw you in class, or I saw you at the basketball game. So it's most likely somebody who is going to gain access to the new phone number as well. So are we spinning our wheels by getting a new phone number over and over again? And that is.
And the answer is, first, you start with the people that are most close to you and say, don't give it to anybody.
Right.
And the minute it gets out to another circle of people, then you know it has hit that person. So there's so many different ways of doing it.
We're just saying like because Todd and I talked about it afterwards, like just saying like, let's go back for a little bit to the old school Razor phone.
Yes.
Where you can't get text messages.
Yeah, you can't receive text.
But you can call your friends. And again, and a lot of the parents said this is part of the like being too overinvested. The parents are like, I don't think I should have to get my kid another phone. They wanted their kids to stay socially connected.
Meanwhile, your daughter's being threatened with physical violence.
Right. So there's a lot of like,
Like, come on, parents.
there's a lot of things happening at once.
Smarten up.
So So eventually the sheriff finally, he was an interesting character.
Not helpful.
Not as helpful as people would come into his office and he'd be like, no, he'd basically be like, did you do this? And they'd be like, no. And he'd be like, okay, we'll see you later. So eventually this guy involves the FBI when the thing we were making fun of, Todd, was he like put together a binder of every single text message that had been sent. And the binder was like huge. It was like huge. And Todd's like, he doesn't really need to do that. Like, you can put it on a screen. Like, why is he printing them out? And he'd be like, I'd read through them every day to see if I could find something. And we're like, anyway, he finds.
You're very freaking helpful. You know that? You're a fucking asshole.
Oh boy.
What's that?
I don't know. I just found it's angry computer guy sounds. And that's for the sheriff. The sheriff is just like, and he agreed to do this documentary after it made him look like he didn't know how to handle this case.
I think he thought he did a good job. I think, like, as I watched
20
him
months later, dude, the FBI guy figured it out after a week.
Yeah. Well, now the FBI had access to things that the sheriff didn't have access to.
The sheriff needs to know his own limitations.
I know, but it was just seeing certain things, like the sheriff would be like, we think it's a group. And I'm going to figure out where the groups are.
Whatever.
I'm like, there's groups everywhere. Yeah. Like, it could be these 3, these 4. Anyway.
Not helpful. Let's stay positive, people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It was not helpful at all. So eventually the FBI liaison, this guy named Bradley Peter, was good, right? Well, like right when he came on the screen, you're like, okay, something good is going to happen.
There's an adult in the room.
Yeah, somebody's going to help. And this is like 45 minutes into the documentary, maybe 50 minutes. So I found that interesting too, is that there was still another 45 minutes to go.
Right.
And I was like, we're going to get an answer here. So basically what this FBI guy did is he subpoenaed the data, which is what you're supposed to do, traced like the calls, and then was able to find this thing called Pinger. And I think that's what it was called, and figured out the Verizon phone number it was coming from.
Yeah.
So right now, if you are listening to this and you have not watched this documentary, then we will see you after you have, so we're going to say goodbye to you.
Yeah.
And so bye. Do you want to, bye.
That is the dividing.
Bye.
Anything that happens after that clap, you are risking the
answer.
So,
Todd, would you like to say who they figured out the number belonged to?
I don't know. I feel like I don't even know how to do it justice. It's so crazy. And part of me wants to play that scene of when they figure it out. But why don't you say it now? I'll try to find the scene.
Okay, I will tell you this part because it's kind of part of what makes the documentary interesting.
Yeah.
Because you are watching them, interview all these other kids, this girl named Chloe, this girl named Macy, all these other people who go to the school, and they seem to have or this poor girl named Ariana, who's like just didn't do anything. And they're like, the police are interviewing her. Poor thing. She's so traumatized. So there's been a lot of blame placed on other people. And so you're kind of still in that mindset that people are being blamed wrongly. And then all of a sudden, the FBI guy says, I traced this number back, and this phone number belongs to Kendra Licari, which is Lauren's mother.
All right.
Okay.
You ready for it?
I am.
And the FBI got involved. We come up with some stuff that comes back to you.
What do you mean?
The messages coming and originating from you.
No.
Every message that went to the kids, your number come back through Pingree or whatever it is, the app that's tried to hide it.
So at this moment, I'm like, maybe her phone was being stolen by somebody else. I still believed her innocence.
Me too. So I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, this person is so smart that they're having this phone number go through Kendra Licari's phone number.
Yeah.
And
somebody's
that
hacking into it.
Again, remember, we're only 50 minutes into the doc. So there's so much time that you're like, this person is being blamed, and they can't be Lauren's mom. Because let's be clear, Lauren is the girl getting the text.
Yes.
This is her mother.
And the mom has been in this documentary the whole time saying, we got to figure out who these awful people are.
She's one of the storytellers.
Yes.
Okay. So keep going.
Your number, even though it was being hid, showed up every single message.
My number?
Yep. Does it have to do with Owen? Is there an infatuation there with Owen?
Nothing like that.
Okay, then just tell me what did he treat Lauren bad? I mean something serious, because it went on for a while, right?
Yeah, and it didn't start that way.
And I'm sure it didn't.
So at that moment, I'm like, oh my God, did she just admit to it. So
And
That's okay. Just start from the beginning. So they were dating and then they broke up. So how did it really start? Like, why did it start did it start during when they were still dating?
Did,
Was he treating you bad?
but it didn't, the first ones didn't start like.
all right, so she's lying there.
okay, so then she starts to kind of go off the rails and there's a whole thing. But
Yeah.
what I will say is that what Todd just said is exactly how I felt. I was like, when he started questioning her, I'm like, it's not her, but she's going to be like, oh my God, so overwhelmed. And it's going to, it's going to be this distraction. And then all of a sudden she starts saying, yeah, I did. And that police officer, that guy did an exceptional job.
Yeah.
Not making her run away from the truth.
Yeah.
He basically said, we know it's you.
Yeah, he was assuming.
And he's like, is it about Owen? Because the texts were pretty explicit, saying like, Owen's mine. Owen's gonna, basically a lot of sexual fantasy with Owen. So he's like, are you infatuated? And again, let's remember this kid's like 13, 14, 15, 16. Like he's somewhere in those years. I can't remember exactly how old, but it's so inappropriate. And she's like, no, it's not that. And I bet in his own mind, he was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
She did it.
Yeah.
And so I watched it and then Todd watched it and I kept looking at Todd like, do you understand? Do you understand?
Yeah.
Like I knew you understood, but it was so shocking.
I know. And her demeanor was so interesting.
I know.
Because now having watched that scene a second time, you can see the guilt in her eyes and all that. But when I watched it the first time, I thought she was like trying to figure out like what's happening here.
Right.
Yeah. So anyway.
Well, and this is what I'll say, because this scene goes on where they bring Lauren in and tell her what happened. And I wrote something that came out last Friday about this documentary and about understanding what disassociation is. Okay. Disassociation is a clinical term. It's often used now in mainstream, but basically it just is a protection. It's like a trauma response. So when something really significant happens, you get awful information. You get, you see something that's overwhelming. You are triggered by something extreme, maybe even get into a car accident or something like that. The brain protects itself and kind of gets you to a place of real calm where you can't really even feel what's happening. It's disassociation is exactly what the word means. You disconnect from the experience you're having so you can keep moving forward.
Yeah.
And it's a protection mechanism. It's often talked about when children are harmed, molested, taken advantage of in some way. Kids will often talk about that they feel like they get out of their body. It happens with women who've been raped, maybe men who are being abused in some way, where they almost feel completely disconnected from their body and they're watching themselves have this experience, but they're not feeling it.
Yeah.
That is an extreme form of disassociation. And why it's important to understand is it is a protection. It is your brain doing exactly what it's supposed to be.
To survive.
It keeps you from drowning. And so I feel like in that scene, two things are happening. Kendra, Lauren's mom, is in shock and is potentially disassociating from what's going on. She has been caught, right? And when Lauren comes in and she finds out what's happening, it gets really uncomfortable because her mom starts hugging her while she's getting this information.
Yeah. And think about that. Like, pause there. The person who's been sending these awful, awful things for 22 months.
Telling her to kill herself.
Telling her she's ugly, saying all these awful things, is now consoling her.
Correct. And saying, I can't leave her. I need to take care of her, which we're going to get into factitious disorder by proxy. We're going to talk about that in down the road here, but that's a whole nother thing. But what's so important to understand about Lauren is what I recognized when I started reading more about this documentary and this experience that happened, this thing that happened, is a lot of people are like, Lauren didn't freak out, therefore she must have been a part of it. Or Lauren didn't have the reaction I think she should have had, therefore she knew what her mom was doing and was a part of it. And that's, I don't know what happened, but I would bet 99% that Lauren knew nothing that was going on and that she was having a disassociation.
Yeah.
She was experiencing
Put it this
disassociation.
way, it made more sense as I was thinking about who done it.
Yeah.
That Lauren was doing this to garner attention.
Correct.
To herself. Like that I could buy. the fact that it was the mom was such a huge twist.
Yes.
Yeah.
Such a huge shock. And so for those of you who, and this is not just Lauren, for those of you who watch women who have been assaulted and they talk about it during an interview, or you're talking to someone who's had a really traumatic experience and you're thinking to yourself, they're not reacting the way I think they should. They're not crying or they're not freaking out, and therefore they must be lying. You don't understand what trauma response looks like. Most of the women and girls I talk to, because they're coming to me in trauma, that's what they're like.
Yeah.
They talk about it really matter of fact. They have really wide open eyes, but there's this piece that I feel like people miss. They're somewhat robotic and disconnected. Like Lauren continues to do interviews throughout the rest of the documentary, and she will talk about these things that are so traumatic in such a matter of fact way. And that's what happens in trauma. And not only that, but this is something really important to understand, because we talk about not believing women when things have happened to them. When a woman has something happen to them that's really extreme, like we'll say a rape or a molestation or something like that, some kind of physical danger or emotional danger, their brain goes into a place where if they do disassociate to handle what's happening, and then their memory is not online. Their memory becomes really patchy. They can't put together the whole day. Like I have a friend who I've been talking to just in the last couple months who has recognized that she's been experiencing emotional abuse. And one of the things that she will say is, it's helpful that people are now telling me stories, things they saw that happened to me, because I don't remember them.
Yeah.
My brain did not process them.
Sure.
I just either it didn't become a memory or I jumped right over it in the moment. And that's normal trauma response. So sometimes when we are interviewing women, maybe about something that happened to them, and we'll say, what did you wear that day? What time was it? Where did you go? They don't remember.
Their brain shut down.
Their brain was processing and keeping them from being too overly harmed.
Yeah.
And then you add on years. Then you add on, well, this happened 5 years ago, or how don't you know what you had? How do you not know what you had for lunch? How do you not know who drove home with you? That is completely not trauma informed.
Would it be a bad time for because it was such a plot twist for me
Yes.
and for you, which is why I could just tell you were excited about this documentary. I'm like,
I was like, this is shocking.
well, and you as a mother, like, can you imagine from mother to daughter relationship? This does not make any sense. So I did a quick list of top movie plot twists.
Oh, I bet I know some of them.
Why don't you go ahead and guess,
And
I'll
you tell me the name.
tell you if it's in.
Is it top 10?
Don't say the twist though, because I
won't.
don't want to ruin it. But yeah, I have 10 of them.
Okay, so The Sixth Sense.
Boom, that's number one.
Okay, The Crying Game.
That's not it. That was in there, but I removed it because I never seen it. But yeah,
Oh.
Crying Game was in there.
That's a huge plot twist. Let's see. I'm trying to think of things that are not M. Night Shyamalan. Are there other M. Night Shyamalan
Nope.
movies in there? Okay. TV or movies?
Movies, but then I also did TV. Movies are more interesting though.
I know. I need hints.
Brad Pitt.
Oh, Fight Club.
Oh, that's number 2.
Okay.
Kevin Spacey.
The Usual Suspects.
That's number 3.
Okay.
Anthony Hopkins, or no, Anthony, whatever his name is, from the 60s.
Anthony from the 60s.
Anthony. Psycho.
Oh, Norman Bates. Yeah, Psycho.
Anthony
Okay.
what?
Perkins.
Anthony Perkins.
Mhm.
What's in the box?
Oh, that is called that's called Seven.
I Am Your Father.
That would be The Empire Strikes Back.
Good for
You, Marty. Is that on there?
Yes.
We've said that. We've said good for you, Marty, a few times on this podcast, and only diehards get it because
Yeah.
that's from the movie Primal Fear. That's Edward Norton.
I've only seen this once, but Gone Girl.
Sure. Yeah, that's a huge twist in the middle. And if you read the book, you have the same, experience.
Number 10 is Memento.
Sure.
I love that. That's such
We liked that. We were that movie was really interesting.
really good movie.
Who was that? Was that Fincher? Who did that?
I don't know. I know Guy Ritchie. Is that the actor?
Not Guy Ritchie. That was Madonna's
Guy
husband.
Pearce?
Guy Pearce.
I don't know. And then Get Out. There's a moment, well, I don't want to ruin it, even though it was 8 years ago, but Get Out is probably one of my favorite movies ever made.
Yeah.
So good.
It's extremely.
So those are really good top 20 TV plot twists.
Oh gosh, Todd, you're gonna have to do the same thing because my brain just can't take it all in.
I don't know if these are plot twists, but we have to go back, Kate.
Lost.
Yes.
Which was a great plot twist.
Great.
You and I were freaking out.
Right, because we assumed it was a flashback.
But it was a flash forward.
Sopranos.
Sure.
Not
The
sure.
end.
Yeah,
That's not a plot twist.
It's just an interesting ending.
Okay.
I don't know what episode it is, but season 1 of This Is Us.
Oh yeah, Jack.
Yeah. Jack.
Crockpot, everybody, unplug your crockpot.
Succession.
Yeah, the last season.
Logan.
Logan, don't say it.
And then finally, The Americans.
Yeah.
I just
The
think
end
the
or
train. I just
the
think of
train. Man, that daughter. She trained to become. Speaking of train,
Yeah.
she trained to become just like her mom.
Yeah.
And then she didn't do it.
And then the top 7 of Todd's worst parents in movies. You ready?
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited.
I
love these lists.
I figured you would. The mom from Tangled, not so great.
Well, she wasn't really the mom. She kidnapped her.
Oh, she did.
Mhm.
You're right. She's a kidnapper. So she was the mom.
Mother.
Parent figure. Peter and Kate McAllister. Do you know who they are?
They are from Home Alone.
Very good.
But that was weird.
I know.
They counted. There was a kid who got involved in anyway. I've got a little bit of like empathy for those parents.
Yeah,
some
we've all
compassion.
been there.
Yeah.
Getting
I
old.
mean, I've never left my kid upstairs in his bedroom when I've gone on a trip, but I still get it.
What about her?
Hi, I'm Mrs. Voorhees, an old friend of the Christies.
It's Jason's mom.
Yes.
Jason Voorhees' mom. She was a little pissed off that the campers were having sex while her son was drowning in the lake.
She sure was.
She sure was. Her head ended up in someone's fridge later.
What about, I can't find it. Jack Torrance.
The Shining.
Very good. Not a good dad.
Well, all work, no play.
Yes.
Makes Jack a dull boy.
Sure does.
He was possessed. He was demonically possessed, don't you think? Or ghostly. He was depressed. And, Stephen King talks about how he wrote that book because Stephen King didn't love the movie, but he wrote the book about his addiction and that really it was him being in the throes of alcoholism.
I'm not going to hurt you.
I'm not going to
I'm
hurt
just
you.
going to bash your brains.
Oh, there's
something to you. Whenever you come in here and interrupt me, you're breaking my concentration. You're distracting me. And it will then take me time to get back to where I was. Understand?
So that's what I tell you when I'm writing. I'm like, you're distracting
I
me.
try not to do that.
Shelley
Yeah. She
Duvall.
was traumatized.
She had that really high voice. She was like,
She was olive oil.
get you a sandwich. It was olive oil.
She was.
Okay, more plot twists.
Because not one of your
Faye Dunaway, baby.
Very good, sweetie. Well done.
But that's actually her daughter who says that. That's Christine, right?
I don't know.
Or I can't remember what her daughter's name was. But her daughter's saying that because she's not one of her fans. Yeah. What's her name? Mommy Dearest. She. Ever. She didn't like wire hangers.
Yikes.
She was against them.
And then Norman Bates' mom is Norman Bates is the worst. But was he even a mom? Norman Bates' mother.
Well, he was being his mother.
Oh.
His mother was dead.
Oh.
And
Did
she
he
lived
kill
in the
his
basement.
mom?
I can't remember that part, but he kept her body down there and he would dress up like his mother.
Yeah.
And pretend to be his mother.
All right. So now it's time for me to get back.
Stay on target.
Yeah, let's stay on target with the unknown number. Let's get back to, so we have now disclosed, as you know, the shocking twist. And so that all that body cam footage of watching Kendra own up to it and then watching Lauren, let me get back to what I was talking about disassociation is Lauren doesn't have a response.
No.
She looks dead-eyed
Yeah.
and shocked and overwhelmed, but she doesn't have a response. Now it's interesting watching it for the second time with you. Because Kendra, her mom keeps saying, I didn't do the first ones. I just did the last ones,
Yeah.
meaning she claims that someone else did the first text. In later on, a couple scenes later, Lauren says, no, I think my mom did the whole thing.
Yeah.
So she's very aware of what her mom did.
Totally messed up.
Okay. So do you want to talk about the legal aftermath?
Sure.
Okay. Do you want to do it?
No,
or do
you
want
go
me to
ahead.
do it? Okay. So Kendra was arrested in December 2022. She pled guilty to stalking related charges. So basically, I think it was like felony stalking or something. She received a sentence that ranged from 19 months to 5 years in prison. She ended up doing 18 months, I think. So anytime you get like a prison sentence of 5 years, you can usually cut it in half. You usually get out.
Cut it a lot less than that.
Yeah.
That belongs in the
Boy, that escalated quickly. I mean, that really got out of hand fast.
It jumped up a notch.
so
It
that
did, didn't it?
that belongs in the WTF category.
I agree. And this is part of the WTF as well, that she was released on parole August 2024. So a year ago. So
Yeah.
she's been out. So obviously Lauren's dad, I can't remember his name, but you see him too. He
Okay.
comes home and you see him get the news.
He
And-
handles it. I would freak out, and he
But
keeps his
see-
wits about him.
I think this is what I'm talking about with disassociation and being in shock. People think they would freak out.
Yeah.
But I don't think people freak out
You're
that
right.
often.
Yeah.
I think they later freak out, meaning that part of disassociation or shock or trauma is that you let it out later.
I've heard stories of a plane that looks like it's going down, and everybody's quiet.
Correct. I heard that too.
So interesting.
That basically the captain's like, I don't know if we're going to be able to land, whatever, and the plane is completely silent.
Yeah. Versus
In airplane.
movie Airplane, everybody's like just going crazy.
And there was a gratuitous shot of a woman who
Yeah.
lost her shirt somewhere along the way.
She did.
People love that scene. People, meaning all the boys I grew up with,
Yes.
who like to watch that part of the movie.
It was an important scene. to me.
Yes. So basically, where things are left is he gets a divorce. Kendra and her husband get a divorce. Obviously, they were already struggling. Like another piece that they talk about is
They
that
were already living apart.
they were already living apart and they had all these financial difficulties. Kendra had been telling her husband and everybody else that she was working at Ferris State, which is a university there, and that she had another job somewhere else and in Texas, and she wasn't working at all. She was waking up every day and just sending these text messages.
Yeah, because there's over 20,000 of them.
Correct. In the big binder. Remember the sheriff's big binder? He printed it out.
1,000 texts.
And she was in IT. So she understood how to do this.
Yeah,
like
she figured out how to circumvent and
the
make it
system.
unknown.
For at least a time. So that's what happened to them. And here's the crazy thing. The crazy thing is that Lauren and her mom stayed in touch while her mom was in prison. It's actually not that crazy. That is more common than people may think.
Yeah, don't victims sometimes have compassion for the perpetrators, right? Is that kind of what's happening here or what?
I mean, it's so much deeper than that because sure, we can say that they have compassion, but they've usually had a relationship with their parents that's so
messed up
already that these things, of course, they're still shocking and overwhelming, but they've already accepted so much of what their parent is like, and their parent have somehow convinced them that without them, they would be lost, or they convince the child that the parent would not be okay unless the child takes care of them and that they will lose them or that it's the kid's job to take care of the parent. There's all this, and I'm keeping myself from using the word brainwashing because that's thrown around too much, but there really is a manipulation that happens.
Well, you said a cult of one, right?
Yeah, it's a cult of one. Emotional abusive relationships of any type, if they're like romantic or if it's, it's your spouse, or if it's parent to child, it can be really culty.
Yeah.
And it is really culty. And like Todd said, it's really just a cult of one where it's like you feel this connection to this person in such a way that it's kind of beyond other people's comprehension, and it's because they've convinced you, or your neural pathways in your brain have been built around protecting this relationship. So Lauren is not, it's her mother
Yeah, it's
right?
a mom.
A manipulative mother.
And probably plenty of memories of how this mom nurtured her and fed her and
Correct.
clothed her and did all these things.
And then used those things that she did to make, she used them as weapons.
Yeah.
Like, I did this for you.
Sure.
Do you remember the text that Kendra gets, or that Lauren gets from Kendra that they showed on the screen?
No.
So they showed a text that, or an email or something that Kendra sent her daughter from prison. And it said something like, I was mad at you this morning. You said goodbye, but
that's
not I love you. And then parentheses, but I forgive you.
Yeah.
I mean, that in itself.
Ladies got problems.
Yeah, that is manipulating. That is trying to, that's emotionally abusive. That's trying to make her daughter feel guilty about something. I mean, you're in prison for sending text messages. You know, one thing we didn't explain?
What?
Because we're kind of all over the place talking about this documentary. This woman, Kendra, who's in prison, she also started texting Owen's new girlfriend's mother. Okay, so she wasn't just texting Owen and Kendra. She started texting whoever Owen was dating.
Yeah.
Plus that girl's mother.
Yeah.
So when she says she didn't have an infatuation with Owen, this is not true.
Well, and she shared that she was raped when she was 17.
Correct.
And one of the theories is that her emotional maturity ceased.
It got stunted.
But even so, and I heard this on the podcast that you shared with me this morning, she was 17 when that happened, yet she got involved with her daughters and her daughter's boyfriend when they were 14.
Yeah, and that, you're right. Like it doesn't match up completely, but that can be kind of
I see. The brain doesn't
because the brain doesn't know age. What's happening is her daughter got to be an age where she started to
dating boys.
date, and she was going out in the world and she looked like an older girl, and all of a sudden that triggered in her mom. I'm giving a very compassionate response here. I don't know if this is all true, but it could have triggered something in her mom that made her think she needed to protect her daughter from what happened to her. So then she started doing this crazy texting to keep her daughter home and reliant on her as a mother.
Yeah.
So it's very messed up. There's nothing about it that there's nothing like, oh, well, then that makes sense.
Well, and my 2 cents is, and I don't even know how this all fits together, but this woman, this mom, hated herself.
Correct.
And instead of her directing that hatred towards herself, she directed it towards her daughter.
Yeah, I think a lot of the text messages were actually directed at her versus her daughter, but her daughter received them.
Right.
Didn't know that. You know what? I think we should kind of move to Rolling in the Deep because that's where we are.
Yeah, let's do that. Rolling in the deep. Rolling in the deep.
So I want to talk about 3 things in Rolling in the Deep, and I want to keep it concise. Number 1, I want to talk about performance parenting.
Okay.
Then I want to talk about parents who live through their kids.
Yep.
And then I want to talk about factitious disorder by proxy, which used to be called Munchausen syndrome by proxy.
Oh, interesting. They changed names.
They did.
Oh, I didn't.
Clinically. Mhm.
Yeah.
People still say Munchausen, but it doesn't quite grasp the whole thing.
Okay.
Okay. So let's talk about performance parenting. I think you'll understand what this is. And I think there was a lot of this going on in this town. Performance parenting is where we believe that we are parenting our child, and I'm putting this in air quotes, if we are making sure they make a team, or if we are putting a great Facebook post up that says how much we love them on their birthday, or if we are, buying them a dress because we want them to look hot at the dance. Just like, there's like these very surfacey things that we do that we say, look, I'm parenting because of look at these surfacey things I'm doing. When really parenting a child is a emotional experience. It is a being invested in your child's emotional experience and having a relationship with them so you can be a guide and support system for them. I'm not saying those other things like making sure your kids have clothes or driving them to practice, or there's nothing wrong with putting up a Facebook post.
Sure.
But that should be like the icing. That's the little stuff, right? Yeah. Really what our children, the performance is, look at what a good parent I am. I threw this birthday party and let them invite 50 people. But did your kid want 50 people? Was that for you? Was that for them? And, you know, we've talked about this on our old podcast and Parenting Radio a lot. But it's like there's a sense of almost competing as a parent.
Sure.
You know, like I'm going to show everybody what I do that's so good.
Yeah.
Versus be more focused on having a relationship with your kid, regardless of what that looks like to the outside.
Yeah, their values predicated upon how they look as a parent, and their kids being at a certain level or accomplishment or whatever.
Or only talking about those things with people, all the, you know, things your kids have done. So that could be a week long of conversation. I just wanted to throw that in there because that's happening in the documentary. Parents who live through their children, again, this is a big Zen Parenting Radio thing. Being more focused on what your kids are doing because you want that for yourself. You want to be the parent of a kid who's successful, or you played soccer, so they play soccer, or you want them to be the captain so you can tell people that you have a kid who's a captain. It overlaps with performance parenting, but really parents who have a hard time separating their own life from their children's lives.
Yeah.
And this is really what Kendra was experiencing. This is part of what Kendra was experiencing, is she was actually living through her daughter and her daughter's boyfriend.
Yeah.
And in a really, not only manipulative, but really, what's a good word? Like really destructive way.
Yeah.
Okay. So worse than usual. And so now let's talk about, and wait, another clinical word that's good for this is to talk about that she had what's called an enmeshed relationship with her daughter. She was hurting her daughter, but then comforting her daughter. And she also couldn't see beyond what was going on with her daughter.
Sure.
Enmeshment has gradations, meaning not every enmeshment looks like what Kendra and Lauren were having.
Right.
We can be enmeshed and it could look a lot more healthy to the outside, but really we're too close and too invested.
Yeah.
But it's like where the boundaries aren't clear. Where do I start and you begin? That's really basically it. So now let's talk about Munchausen syndrome or factitious disorder.
My only experience of this is Sixth Sense.
Yes. And tell me why that happens in the Sixth Sense. I remember, but what did they say?
Well, our favorite little movie actor, what's his name?
Haley Joel Osment?
Haley Joel, seeing all these dead people underneath the bed, and this ghost looked really scary. And she was like, I think vomiting or something like that.
Yeah.
And then they kind of randomly go back to this scene with Bruce Willis and this young man, what was his name in that movie? It doesn't matter. And they, at the funeral, it's so crazy.
Because this little girl under the bed gives him a video
VCR, a VCR tape, and says, play this. And there's this hidden camera of this woman stepmother, putting this poison in the kid's food so she'll stay sick.
Correct.
And that's the first time I've ever experienced that. And it was like, oh my God, this is so messed up. And then you realize all these ghosts that Haley Joel Osment is experiencing are actually not scary at all. And they're just asking for help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was kind of his first, like, wow, I really helped somebody.
Yeah.
And so this is more common than people think. It's actually quite common. Unfortunately, quite common is too extreme. It's more common than people think. The other big story was the Gypsy Rose Blanchard story about this girl who there was a documentary made and a movie made that had Patricia Arquette as the mom. Basically, what happened is this girl had all these physical issues and all these illnesses. She was like bald. She was in a wheelchair. Her mom was taking care of her. And she starts to figure out, I'm really not sick. My mom is making me sick.
Yeah.
She starts dating somebody, this guy that she meets, and he kills her mother for her.
Yeah.
Gypsy Rose Blanchard ended up in prison for a while. She's out. She's trying to create a new life. People have a better understanding of what was happening to her. She still had to do prison time. She still, murdered someone, and that can't be our recourse.
Did she murder or did the boyfriend die?
I think the boyfriend did it.
But she told him to do it.
Yeah, he did it for her. She was part of the plot kind of thing. And the reason that I'm saying that it happens more often than we know is in our culture. Okay, first of all, I'll say that I listen to a podcast every week about this disorder, okay, and how it shows up. And
What's the name of the podcast?
the podcast is called Nobody Should Believe Me. It's a woman named Andrea Dunlop. She's a novelist and an advocate for all of this, who has a personal family experience with factitious disorder. Her sister had it and was hurting her own children. And it took her parents and Andrea and her parents a long time to figure this out. They finally confronted her sister, and her sister totally disregarded them. And she still lives with her kids, and her kids have had a lot of medical issues, and they can't do anything about it.
Jesus.
So she now has this podcast where she exposes these stories and talks about how common this is. And the reason that we don't see it as common is because it's hard to know, right? If parents who are hurting, and it's most of the time it tends to be mothers.
Yeah.
There are fathers that are enablers, and there have been fathers who have done the same thing, but it's typically mothers.
It's so interesting to me.
Okay.
Because, crime is mostly guys, do the math. Statistically, it's usually guys that are lost and doing some horrible things. But in this specific diagnosis, it's usually moms. And I guess it makes sense because it has to do with nurturing, right?
It has to do with that's where a woman has power.
Yeah, right.
So they have power as a nurturer and they have power as a mother. And that's where they can actually do something. They talk about it a lot on the pod. So the podcast is not all about salacious stories. It's about why this happens. I listen to a lot of podcasts, first of all, because I enjoy hearing these things, but I also, as a therapist, I listen to a lot about narcissism. And it's just interesting to me what people do with their trauma, or what people do when they don't feel seen, heard, and understood.
Sweetie, you're not crazy. Isn't that the name of the podcast?
Yes, that's a podcast about emotional abuse called
About
You're Not
emotional,
Crazy.
yeah.
But so anyway, it's kind of like in a true crime, but it's more of an exploration of why this happens, who are the people, because also they do things like they doctor hop, or they go to, holistic practitioners.
A lot of clever things you can do to avoid it.
Correct. And there's a lot of doctors who allow it. They are like, oh, come to me. It's kind of like doctors who will prescribe any meds.
Yeah.
And there's all these steps. It's a little, because it's Munchausen, or I'm going to call it Munchausen. Let's stay with factitious, because it's the same thing and it's the clinical diagnosis. Factitious disorder is also very culty, okay? Because it's all, it's obviously physical abuse and emotional abuse, but what's interesting about it is the people who are perpetrating this all tend to have the same playbook, which a lot of cult leaders do too, and a lot of emotional abusers. It's so interesting how they have similar steps and way that they do things.
Not necessarily studying up on each other's habits. It just happens.
They don't go to school together.
Yeah.
It's like they're just all doing the same thing. And there's a lot of steps, like where a kid, a mom whose kid is getting sick a lot, and then, they'll figure it out. And then they'll come back and say, oh, there's GI issues, because GI issues are hard to figure out.
Yeah, hard to diagnose.
Then they'll say they're not eating, and they'll get them a feeding tube. And I'm being very general here. It doesn't always happen this way, but this is kind of a template. And then once they have a feeding tube, they have a direct line inside their body.
Yeah.
And then a lot of times, there have been parents who have put feces into the tube.
Yikes.
They have put poisons into the tube. And so what is the goal? People will say attention. It is, my kid is sick. I'm getting doctor attention. I'm getting family attention. I'm getting, people caring about me, worrying about me. For some people, it is things like, I'm going to write a blog about it, and I'm going to talk about this issue. I'm going to have a community. There was this whole podcast called Scamanda, and it was, Scam Amanda, Scamanda, and about how she faked having cancer for years and years and years and years and got a lot of money. Some people do it to get money.
We had a neighbor that did that.
We did?
Yep.
Am I
She lived
forgetting?
down the block. She told us about all these
That's
diagnoses.
right. Okay, now I remember.
Interesting. So it has shown up in our lives.
Yes, and so that's just factitious disorder.
Yeah.
Factitious disorder by proxy is when you're doing it to your child or somebody else or like an elderly person. So factitious disorder is when you're pretending you have something, and people will, shave their heads and say they've been through chemo and actually go to the hospital and take pictures in the hallway and then post it, but they really didn't have an appointment. It's really interesting.
I have one small example
Please.
of how I think I participated in it. One time when I was like 13 years old, I was standing on the side of a pool and my friend hit my legs out and it almost hit my head, but it
Okay.
looked as if it was. And I pretended as if it hit my head and I was dizzy and all that.
You got attention.
And I got attention for it.
Todd, you know what that's like? It's like Butch and the Bees.
Oh, yeah.
One
Don't
time
get me started.
we were with my niece and nephew in Galena, and it was when they were little. They're now in their 20s.
We were on a walk and we
Uh-huh.
stepped on a hornet's nest.
Yeah.
Which turns out is on the ground.
Yeah.
The three of us got attacked
So
by,
Todd and my niece got stung,
yeah, Max,
who was like 3 at the time.
who was like 3. We pulled off Maddie's shirt and there were still bees
in
flying
there,
out of
yeah,
her shirt.
Hornets.
Max didn't get hit. I don't even think I got hit, but Maddie got stung a few times. And it was like a big thing because I like ran home like we just stepped on a hornet's nest. And Max is like, oh yeah, I got bit. And he like
He's like,
shows
right
part of his
here.
belly and there's nothing there. So Max, if you're listening, and I think you are because I think you listen to this podcast, you did not get stung.
But
by
he was so sweet. He would just want to be part of it.
He had a Band-Aid on his head for 3 days and he didn't even hit his head.
Well, let's just say the children don't have this in that way. That's just attention seeking. But there are, when they get older, like Andrea Dunlap, who does this podcast, her sister, what started with her sister is her sister had back surgery, got a lot of attention, and then started having all these other things that were happening.
Yeah.
And at one point said her hair was falling out. And when she went to the doctor said, she's been shaving her head. That's not, so there are signs sometimes that it starts early and then it ends up going on with their children. Now, and then one more thing that I want to say is there's a documentary called Take Care of Maya that a lot of people have seen. It's also on Netflix and it follows the Kowalski family and this whole legal battle they have because Beta Kowalski, the mom, was accused of factitious disorder by proxy when trying to get medical care for Maya. And then Beta, her mom, she died by suicide. And so they sued the hospital and it's this whole thing. Well, Andrea Dunlap did a whole season about it. And there really is a lot of evidence that she was keeping Maya sick. So like the Netflix documentary makes you think it's the hospitals that are trying to kidnap this little girl and hurt this family. And Andrea Dunlap did she's also a journalist, this whole journalistic, she's like, this actually, I don't know. I'm going to let people listen to that on their own.
Dude, are you trying to tell me that sometimes there's signs of people being deceptive?
Very much so. There are signs. So I'm going to bring this full circle and then I'll be done talking about this. This was fictitious disorder by technology.
Yeah.
So what
a lot of syllables.
doing was texting her. Kendra was texting her own daughter and threatening her. And then her daughter would come home and get compassion from her mom and need her mom more because she was scared of the text she was getting.
Yeah.
So her mom was creating a cycle of being needed.
And through that lens, we all want to be needed.
We do, but we
Hers
don't.
was just a little overstepping, let's say.
So she's being interviewed in this documentary, and the person, Sarah, who's doing the documentary, interviewing her, says, "You told her to kill herself. Weren't you worried that she would do that?" Yeah. And she's like, "No, I knew her well enough that she wouldn't." Like, just so just so removed from reality. Yeah. But anyway, I think that the why this documentary is interesting, it's not just about the story and like looking at people's lives and, going, oh my gosh. It's about the fact that there was this mom doing this and why, and her own history of being traumatized and then, projecting that trauma on her daughter and other children. It's about factitious disorder. It's about using technology to get your own emotional needs met.
Aren't human beings interesting? Like, back in the old days, you'd have to like poison your kids.
Right.
And now we're like, hey, maybe I don't have to poison them. Maybe I could just pretend to send text to them from somebody else's phone. Like,
I know.
It's so interesting how creative us adults, us human beings can get.
And, it's interesting because the mother of Owen, who didn't do anything wrong per se in the big picture, but even she took Owen's phone and started texting Chloe saying, "This is Owen. I know you did it."
Yeah.
Even the moms were getting involved in like blaming other people. And again, that's not factitious disorder, but it's still like you're pretending to be your kid. And it just was so messy and disturbing. So anyway, that is kind of, that's my big, overview on that. And then I have so many things about small towns. I just don't know if it's really necessary. I think we got the gist.
I don't have any trivia. Where are they now? It's kind of all brand new. Like, is there any categories you want to make sure we hit?
I didn't come up with a song. Did you?
I sure did.
Oh, then you get to do your song.
It means I win.
Oh, did you do Small Town?
I did not do Small Town.
Okay.
And I chose not to overthink it.
Okay, this is Music Game, everybody. Let's hear it.
Do you think they'll drop the bomb?
That's good, Todd. Very good. It's actually when you really get into this.
Do you think they'll like this song?
This whole song is about how the mother is overprotective and gives her child fear.
Yeah.
And
Mama's going
anxiety.
to put all of her fears into you.
Yeah.
Mama won't let anyone dirty get through.
Yeah.
Mama's going to keep you
baby.
right here under her wing. She won't let you fly, but she might let you sing. So she's going to let her sing. So that is funny. They should have bought the rights to this song for that documentary. It fits so well.
Yeah, it's perfect. And that's, and some of us do that just a teeny bit in a way that's not destructive. It's just us, becoming aware of how we're getting over involved. And some people get so caught up in these things. Like, I'm thinking about all these Lifetime movies I used to watch in my 20s and 30s about, a mom who was upset that her daughter didn't make the cheerleading team. And so she like killed another cheerleader to make room. Like, there are people who just take this to such an extreme. And right then, that there's so many other things going on.
Yeah.
It's not as simple as you think it is. And for as much as Kendra is not held in high regard by anybody after seeing this documentary, nor am I quite sure that she understands what she did.
No,
because she's
sick.
in this documentary and she's kind of explaining. She actually has a point where she says, I think everybody has made mistakes. And, some people have driven drunk when they shouldn't have. And, they could be arrested just like I was. And when you're watching it, you're like, no, you were texting obscene things to your daughter and her boyfriend. So everybody go watch it.
And just a quick plug for a podcast you and I did, podcast number 175, Pink Floyd's Mother Can Help Us Understand Conscious Parenting.
Yes, that's
one of my favorite. I'll put that in the show notes. But
that's old, Todd. If we're on 800 whatever, and that was 132. Wow, that was a long time ago.
Podcasts ago.
It was probably like 10 years ago.
So we're going to use this song Mother to take us home, and we'll see you all next week, I guess, right?
Thanks for listening.
Mama's gonna keep you right here under her wing. She won't let you fly, but she might let you sing. Mama's gonna keep baby cozy and warm.